Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel for another installment in our new figure showcase series, where we're taking a look at the newest figure being added into my collection. And today we're back to the MCU and we'll be looking at Sylvie in 6-scale format as released by Hot Toys from Loki Season 1 on Disney+. And I do have Loki, President Loki, and Classic Loki on order, and the first two should actually be getting to me soon, so I'm looking forward to reviewing the whole line as well. So, I'll start off by saying I really did enjoy Loki Season 1. If you know me by now or follow the channel, you know I'm a huge Marvel fan. I thought the show itself was a great look at Loki, who has been one of the best MCU, I'm not going to say villains, but characters to date. And seeing some of the interactions he had with Owen Wilson's character and Sylvie were real highlights for me. And I think Sylvie herself was a great version of Loki, a great variant. And I really enjoyed the mystery around her in the early part of the show. And even the kind of horror elements thrown into her introduction with her taking out TVA agents in the shadows. She was a great new character, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more of her in Loki Season 2. Now, we do have to talk Marvel a little bit, because again, I have to say I'm still fully on board the Marvel train. It doesn't mean I like everything. Case in point, She-Hulk, which to me was all over the place. I thought it had some great episodes, but then some really strange ones, and I wasn't a fan of the ending. I didn't feel like it was cohesive. But anyway, I'm still on board, even though it seems like many people aren't, which is fine. We all have our likes and dislikes. For me, collecting some of these figures, though, has almost become independent of the MCU itself. I like the style of the characters, and I want the continuity in my collection. So for me, it almost doesn't matter if the movies are good or not, because I'm building my own Marvel universe using just these versions of the characters to populate it. And look, I have gotten a few comments on some of the videos calling me a Disney apologist, and all I'll say to that is, I like what I like, and I still like Marvel. And I don't see that changing anytime soon, to be honest. So just wanted to drop in my thoughts on the license overall. But we're here to look at the figure, so let's take a look at the overall package we're getting here. And it's actually a really decent offering with a fair amount of accessories that should give me some options for posing. And you're getting the more standard hands, although there is a twist with this set. Some weapons and some TVA specific pieces, as well as backdrops meant to represent the portal's opening, although I have some thoughts on that piece. And of course, you get the standard Hot Toy stand that has the character's name on the front and a nice print on the top, and you also get her poncho, which we'll see on the figure itself. So now, jumping into the accessories, let's start with the hands. And as usual, Hot Toys isn't disappointing here, with a bunch of posed hands ranging from fists to splayed out fingers, but the really eye-catching set of hands here are these in the center that actually come with the magical effect pieces pasted on the fingertips. I'm trying to recall if we've ever seen that from Hot Toys before, and I'm just not sure. It's definitely interesting because clearly Hot Toys didn't think there was a way to just add this effect to the hands and have them look good. So I don't mind the pre-posed looks off the bat. The other hands were really good as well. Again, nice detail on the fingers, although the nails aren't as well done as the ones we got with Yelena or Natasha or the Black Widow figures. But they're still nicely detailed, and the gloves themselves do have some nice slight color variations with a little gray thrown in. Next up, you get her sword, which is really well done with the curved blue blade with some ancient, I'm guessing, Norse writing to keep in theme with Loki. The blue paint on this is nice and reflective, but I really love the sword hilt. With the nice gold painted handle that ends in a horse head with some more writing on it. Just a really nice piece overall. Next, you get the TVA stun baton, as well as an additional piece which expands into a pike of sorts. So first, detail on the standard black handle is well done with some great texturing, and the paintwork on the silver portions of the baton is also nicely done. And there's very nice detail there. Highlight though for me is the translucent plastic at the tip. Now you can remove the black handle and attach the pike to get a longer ranged weapon, which is a really nice feature. Both pieces look good, with the foam metal looking especially nice. Now next, you get this beautiful time reset charge as well as the effect piece. So first up, the reset charge. This is so well done, with the nice red translucent plastic and all the great detail work on the sides, with the gold, silver, and black pieces, and you even get the hint of some wires as well as buttons along the sides. It's really impressive for such a small piece. And then of course you get the time reset effect, which you should use in tandem, which looks good. Let's start there, right? The color pattern here is great representation of what we saw in the show, and if you put the charge in the middle, it looks really, really nice. But I am bothered by the fact that it's just a thinner plastic. It feels sturdy enough, and I guess they wanted it to be flat, but it just feels a little cheap. Although passable, and more importantly, I guess it looks good. Now, continuing with great small accessories, you get the temp pad, and this is just again impressive because the detail work on the pad itself is amazing. All the dials and the buttons and even the slot for the controller have such amazing molded details that are, like I said, they're molded and painted. And the paint app work here is stunning. I don't think there's a stray line at all. And from a functionality point of view, you can actually lock the controller into the appropriate slot and then close the pad. And just the attention to detail from Hot Toys here amazes. When they really want to do something well, they can 100% do it. So phenomenal piece, especially for something most people aren't going to use or aren't even really going to see. Now the last accessory is also the one I have the most problems with, and that's the portal frame backdrop. Now look, Hot Toys has done cardboard backdrops before, and it really didn't bother me. I felt like with Doctor Strange and Indy, they worked really well. Here, I like the thought behind this to create this floating door, but I'm not a fan of the execution. Basically, it's just folded plastic that's glued together on a thin plastic sheet base, with tabs that hold the gate in place. It just feels cheap, flimsy, and easily damaged. I will say that it does actually look good, so at least I'll give Hot Toys credit for providing a good-looking accessory. And I'll also note I'm looking at it really close, which I think won't be the case for most people once this is in the display. But up close, it really becomes glaring how cheap this is. I think for me, I would have just wanted something a little more robust, maybe a harder plastic with a nicer base to keep the portal sturdy. Maybe I'm asking for a lot, but again, with the prices being charged here, this feels like cost cutting. On the plus side, it's just a backdrop, so I can always just store it away if it really bothers me. But now let's move to a highlight, and that's the figure sculpt. And this is just stunning. I think Sylvie continues the recent Hot Toys trend of releasing incredible sculpts that just look super realistic. And I think have an amazing likeness to their characters. This just, I don't know that I can say how impressed I am. First thing to note, you cannot remove her crown. It's glued on, so that's a slight shame because there are scenes in the show where she's not wearing it. But it looks great with really clean paintwork and nice detailing, even showing the broken horn. But then everything else here, the sculpted hair has so much detail and looks good. I know some people prefer rooted, but this just looks great. And then the detail work on her face, her eyes in particular. I mean, this sculpt, just like the Wanda from WandaVision, is what really makes this figure stand out. And I think it's what continues to set Hot Toys apart. It's just that good. Now, moving on to the rest of the figure, I really do like it. The boots aren't split cut though, and I did feel like it was a little bit challenging to get Sylvie to stand in some poses. Not impossible, but a little more challenging. Beyond that though, she has double jointed elbows, so great for posability, and then the clothing is really nice with a lot of detailing on her armor, and a really nice fabric choice for her pants that just drapes naturally. Now, one thing I don't like, and it's because I feel like it's very thin, and that it's just going to tear or fall apart in time, are the sleeves and her collar. It's meant to represent a shinier leather, but when swapping her hands, I felt like it's a little on the fragile side, and if you pull it or move things around too much, it could get damaged, so just be careful. From an aesthetic point of view, it looks great. I just question the longevity here, and hopefully it's not pleather or it's going to fall apart at some point. But even these sleeves have some great detail work on them with these green screen printed elements. And on her back, she has these pieces of fabric dangling that actually look pretty good, almost like ties. So I think the clothes are really well done. On top of that though, you do get the poncho, which is a nice fabric piece that includes a black exterior fabric and a green interior lining. Very much in theme with Sylvie, and it fits really well in the figure. Plus, it's easy to put on, having snaps at the arms, so you don't need to worry about popping the hands off and sliding anything on. It just works well and it looks great too. The hood is wired, so you can have it down or even up on the sculpt, and you can get the poncho to fall in interesting ways, although I did find it a little tedious at times just to get it to look the way I wanted to. But it definitely adds something, and honestly, I kind of like the look. I like her without it, but I think the poncho does give her something a little extra, so I guess I'm a little undecided as to how I'll ultimately display her. Now, the accessories here are great, and while I do have an issue with the diorama pieces, both the portal and the reset effect do look good, like I said before, around the figure. And the sorted batons and temp pad all fit in nicely and give you a lot of posing options. Swapping the hands on her is actually pretty straightforward, and the hands are a little pliable, so getting the accessories in place is easy. My only issue with the hands swaps, and it's what I mentioned before, again, just relates to the fabric for the sleeves. There's a portion that essentially hangs over the back of her hand, so when you swap out the hands, you just have to be careful not to get it caught in the pegs. And then the the hands that I really like are the magical effect hands. They really look nice and work well. You just have to be gentle when trying to get these on the figure because the effects are only connected, like I said, at the fingertips. So if you don't grab the hand to peg it in, you could end up breaking those pieces. But once they're on the figure, they look great. And like I said, because Sylvie does come with those double jointed elbows, you really get a full range of motion on her arms that allow you to attain some really great looks with those magical pieces and with the rest of the accessories. Now, like I mentioned earlier, she doesn't have split cut boots, so that was the only real issue I had here. She's not the easiest figure to get to stand, and it was just an interesting choice to me that they didn't do the split cuts here, because Hot Toys has been doing this as a fairly standard practice with all their figures. But since these are solid molds, it feels like you really have to get her feet planted properly to get her to stand. I do think this might be a figure I have to display with the provided base because I'm concerned that she's likely to topple over. So overall impressions, I really like the figure, and I think the big selling point for me here has to be the sculpt. In hand, this just continues with the phenomenal work Hot Toys is putting into their 6-scale collection. But there are some complaints I have that are holding the figure back from being perfect. Namely, some of the material choices and the stability issues with her. And the portal, it looks good, and again, if you display her and you look at her from a distance or even closer up, you won't really see anything wrong with it. But knowing it's really cheap plastic, I just feel like with the amount we pay for these figures, Hot Toys could have done something a little bit better. But at least the issue's not with the figure itself. And I don't know that everyone's going to want to display the portal, so not a deal breaker. So again, pretty solid release and definitely happy to have her in hand. Now the next few weeks should be busy with the rest of the line coming in, including Classic Loki that just got released. So altogether, I think the line from the show is going to look pretty impressive. And I really liked the series, so I'm looking forward, again, to having all these in place together. I think the only thing missing, and I'm hoping third party steps in, would be for Mobius. But anyway, that was a quick look at Sylvie from Hot Toys and their Loki Season 1 line. Let me know your thoughts on this one, and as always, thanks for watching. And if you are enjoying the content, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, and we'll touch base on the next video.